Would you stay silent? Or let revenge speak for you? Welcome to the stories on Shattered Vengeance. Step into a world where love turns dangerous, revenge feels inevitable, and every story drags you deeper into the shadows of desire, betrayal, and the human heart. Let's begin today's story. The sound of furniture scraping across my hardwood floors jolted me from the quarterly reports I'd been reviewing in my home office. I walked downstairs to find my mother directing two moving men as they carried my brother Jake's oversized sectional sofa through the front door of what I'd thought was my house. The Victorian I'd purchased 18 months ago after my consulting firm had its first $1 million quarter. Perfect, set it right there by the bay window. Mom instructed with the authority of someone who'd clearly appointed herself interior decorator for this unauthorized invasion. Jake's going to love the natural light in this living room. I stood at the bottom of my staircase, watching my family treat my home like community property while Jake supervised the installation of his 65-inch television where my antique writing desk had been that morning. The same desk where I'd built DataBridge Solutions from a freelance side hustle into a 7-figure consulting operation. What exactly is happening here? I asked, using the diplomatic tone that had served me well in boardroom negotiations but felt surreal in my own living room. Oh good, you're home, Mom said without a trace of acknowledgement that anything unusual was occurring. We're getting Jake moved in. He needs somewhere to stay while he gets back on his feet, and you have all this extra space just going to waste. Extra space. My 4-bedroom house had a dedicated office, a guest room I used for client meetings, a master suite, and one additional bedroom that served as my library. Every square foot was intentionally designed and carefully utilized, but to my family, any space not actively occupied by a person represented inefficient resource allocation. Mom, this is my house, I said carefully, watching Dad emerge from the kitchen carrying paint supplies and drop cloths. I didn't agree to Jake moving in. Don't be selfish, Melissa, Mom replied with the tone she'd perfected during my teenage years. Family helps family. Jake's going through a rough patch after the divorce and you're doing well enough to share. It's only temporary. Jake's rough patch had lasted 2 years, ever since his ex-wife had discovered his gambling problem and kicked him out of their apartment. He'd been living with our parents, contributing nothing to household expenses while working sporadically as a delivery driver and spending his earnings at the casino downtown. Your brother needs the master bedroom, Mom continued, gesturing toward my upstairs sanctuary where I could hear unfamiliar voices discussing furniture placement. The larger space will help his mental health during this transitional period. You can take the smaller bedroom. You're single anyway, so you don't need as much room. I followed the voices upstairs to find Dad spreading plastic sheeting across my bedroom carpet, preparing to paint my carefully chosen sage green walls the deep blue that had apparently been selected for Jake's comfort and aesthetic preferences. Dad, what are you doing? Freshening up the room for Jake, he replied without looking up from his paint preparation. This blue will make the space feel more masculine and welcoming. Don't worry, we'll buy the paint. Consider it our contribution to helping family. The next 3 hours unfolded like a carefully choreographed invasion, with my family moving through my house with the efficiency of professional movers who'd planned this operation for weeks. Jake directed the placement of his bedroom furniture while Mom reorganized my kitchen to accommodate his dietary preferences and cooking habits. You barely use this formal dining room anyway, Mom observed, watching movers position Jake's weight bench and exercise equipment where my conference table had hosted client dinners. This will be perfect for Jake's fitness routine. He's been working on getting back in shape. I stood in my kitchen doorway, watching my refrigerator get restocked with energy drinks and frozen pizza while my meal prep containers were relocated to a single shelf. The transformation felt surreal, like watching someone else's life being superimposed over mine with casual efficiency. Melissa, we need to talk about household expenses, Dad announced, emerging from what had been my home office carrying boxes of my business files. Jake's going through financial difficulties, so he can't contribute to utilities or maintenance costs. But you're doing well with your computer business, so it shouldn't be a burden. Computer business. DataBridge Solutions had generated $2.3 million in revenue last year, providing digital transformation consulting for Fortune 500 companies. But to my family, any work involving technology qualified as a hobby rather than a legitimate enterprise requiring professional respect. Where are my client files going? I asked, watching Dad stack confidential business documents in my garage like old tax records. Jake needs the office space for his gaming setup, Dad explained matter-of-factly. You can work from the smaller bedroom, or better yet, maybe this is a sign you should find office space like other real businesses. Working from home isn't professional anyway. The gaming setup consisted of 3 monitors, a gaming chair that cost more than most people's monthly rent, and enough electronic equipment to power a small television studio. Jake had somehow convinced our parents that his gaming hobby qualified as a legitimate workspace deserving of dedicated room allocation. This house has great potential for family gatherings, Mom mused, surveying the living room where Jake's entertainment center dominated the space like a shrine to electronics. We could host holidays here instead of cramming everyone into our small place. You'll love having family around more often. Family gatherings. My house had been my sanctuary, the place where I could decompress from demanding client work and plan strategic initiatives without interruption. The idea of it becoming party central for extended family celebrations made my carefully controlled professional life feel suddenly chaotic. Jake, how long are you planning to stay? I asked my brother, who was testing the acoustics of his new entertainment system at volumes that probably violated neighborhood noise ordinances. Until I get back on my feet, he replied without looking away from his screen. Maybe 6 months, maybe longer. Depends on how quickly I can rebuild my savings. 6 months. I'd purchased this house as an investment in my professional independence, using the equity to establish credibility with clients who expected their consultants to demonstrate financial stability and business acumen. Now it was being converted into subsidized housing for my unemployed brother's recovery project. Thanks for being so understanding, Melissa, Mom said, patting my shoulder with maternal approval. This is what successful people do. They help family members who are struggling. You're finally using your good fortune for something meaningful. Monday morning brought the sound of multiple vehicles in my driveway, not more moving trucks, but 3 black SUVs that I recognized as the transportation preferred by my attorney's firm when handling high-stakes litigation. I watched through my kitchen window as Patricia Wellington, senior partner at Wellington & Associates, approached my front door, followed by a team of legal associates carrying briefcases and official-looking documents. Jake emerged from what had been my office, wearing pajamas at 11 a.m. and looking confused by the unexpected professional visitors. Melissa, did you order something? There's a bunch of people in suits outside. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang with the kind of authoritative persistence that suggested official business. I opened the door to find Patricia holding a leather portfolio and wearing the expression she typically reserved for delivering devastating legal news to opposing counsel. Good morning, Melissa. I have the documentation you requested, along with the trespassing notices and property records verification. She handed me the portfolio while her associates positioned themselves strategically around my front entrance. Everything is properly notarized and ready for service. My family materialized from various corners of my house like witnesses to an execution. Mom appeared from the kitchen, Dad from the garage, and Jake from his gaming throne, all wearing expressions that suggested they'd suddenly realized this was more than a social call. Trespassing notices? Mom's voice carried the edge of someone whose careful planning was encountering unexpected legal complications. Melissa, what is this about? I opened the portfolio and extracted the first document, a certified copy of my property deed showing sole ownership of the house, purchase price, and mortgage details. The financial information would be particularly illuminating for people who'd assumed I couldn't afford property ownership without family assistance. This is documentation proving that I am the sole legal owner of this property, I announced, holding up the deed for everyone to see, along with formal trespassing notices requiring all unauthorized occupants to vacate immediately. Patricia stepped forward with professional efficiency. Mr. Jake Morrison, you are hereby served with formal notice to quit and surrender possession of the premises at 247 Maple Street. You have 24 hours to remove all personal property and vacate. Jake stared at the official document like it was written in ancient hieroglyphics. Wait, I can't just be kicked out. This is family property. Melissa said we could share it. Actually, Patricia replied, consulting her notes, property records show that Ms. Morrison purchased this house for $847,000 using proceeds from her business, DataBridge Solutions, which reported $2.3 million in revenue last year. There is no family ownership claim or legal basis for occupancy rights. The numbers hung in the air like financial evidence of everything my family had misunderstood about my computer business. The eviction proceeded with legal efficiency that would have impressed my most demanding corporate clients. Patricia's team supervised the removal of Jake's belongings while my parents stood in shocked silence, finally comprehending that their daughter's computer hobby had generated enough wealth to purchase substantial real estate without family assistance or co-signers. "Melissa, we had no idea you could afford something like this," Mom said quietly, watching movers restore my furniture to its original positions. "When did your business become so substantial?" "DataBridge Solutions has been profitable for 3 years, Mom." I tried to explain the revenue growth at family dinners, but you heard computer work and assumed it was freelance tutoring. Dad studied the property deed with visible confusion. $847,000. "Melissa, why didn't you tell us you had that kind of money?" "I did tell you. You suggested I find real work instead." By evening, my house had been restored to its original configuration: professional office, client meeting spaces, and master bedroom that belonged to its rightful owner. Jake moved back in with our parents, who suddenly developed intense interest in my business operations and potential investment opportunities. Property ownership, I'd learned, was the most effective way to establish boundaries with family members who confused success with community property.